Hey, it's Panzerkunz here, and I thought of having a kind of new little video series called Why You Can Fly. And basically, I've seen in other video games, the content creators there, they kind of review entire lines or entire tech trees, kind of go from, the beginning to the end, what you're getting. But I thought this game kind of has a lot of good subgroupings or little mini groupings or families of aircraft that kind of fly the same. And the first ones I thought of were the Blemheim and the Bullfighter, so killer bees. And one of the first things about them is they're slower, not as agile. They have good guns, good bombs, uh, poor altitude or just middling altitude performance, but a very unique turret that it can fire 360 degrees. I also included the Tier 3 bomber because it is a Blemheim, but when you look at the stats from the Tier 4, it's 39 speed and 34 maneuverability, and it goes down to 26 and 18. So it's just basically a nerfed version for Tier 3. It does have the same bombs, 250-pound bombs, but they only take 21 seconds to reload, whereas the Tier 4, 200 seconds, so it takes like 1,000% more time to reload. So you really can't use them all that much in a battle. I mean, one of them I do use them straight away, but maybe like two drops in a heated battle you could use them. But looking at how similar, going back to the heavies, how similar they are, the idea of grouping planes, why you should fly the killer bees. Well, we look at the maneuverability on the tier 4. It has a stall speed of 160 and a rate of roll of 61 and a turn time of 14 seconds. So when you fly this, especially coming from like a tier 3 light fighters, it's just so slow, it's so lumbering, it's so like turns like a boat, right? Going up to the bullfighter, 160 saw speed, 60 rate of roll, and it takes about a little bit like zero point 0.7 seconds more to turn. So if you're doing maneuvers in this, you know kind of what this can take, right? And then looking at the bullfighter 5, 160, 60, and it turns just as well as a tier 4. So all these aircraft basically perform the same way in the air. But the biggest thing, besides the Bullfighter 5 from not having any bombs, are the turrets. They all have turrets that can fire 360 degrees, which is pretty unique. But looking at the Tier 4, it does 40 damage per second and elevation and depression angles of 50 and minus 10, and only 550 meters range. So you can't really kill anything with this. It's just there to be there, just to give you a little taste. It's not really there to do much. But when you jump to the bullfighter, you get 96, so it more than doubles. Same range and the same depression angles, but you can do a lot more stuff with this one. But it's still kind of tough. But magically, when you get to the bullfighter 5, the gunner is takes some crack or something because when you look at what he can do, 128 damage per second, 600 range. Well, with gunner skills, you can get that up to 690, and depression angles and elevation of 60 and 120. So they just straight up buff this. It can shoot higher up and it could shoot lower. So if you're in a climb, you can really shoot a lot of the aircraft coming up to chase you, and you could even turn to your side and completely shoot aircraft that are perpendicular to you. So that is the crazy thing about the Bullfighter 5, and you definitely need gunner skills to improve that because that's the main selling point. And just look at how the turret rests. It looks like it's attackable. It's ready to get you, right. But the bullfighter, kind of like tail between its legs. The Blemheim too. It's just kind of there. But those are definitely the highlights of those aircraft. And 128. Just just for a little comparison here, let's just look at tier 4 light fighters. Let's say the 112, 172. Okay, a little bit less. The Phantom, 122, 84. Ooh, 170, 100. So you got, what does this have? 120. You got like a middle of the range tier 4 light fighter firepower on your back. when you're in the Bullfighter 5. So just think about that. You're a heavy fighter, but just imagine the I-153 or just the Phantom behind you that could shoot anywhere. So let's go ahead and take a look at some gameplay clips I chose to see what these guys. All right, so here we are in the Blemheims F, the Blemmy, and this is why you should fly it, because it's got 4 pretty decent bombs. As you'll see in this bomb drop, I'm able to take out these 2 AA guns, and I'm also able to take out some of the AD heavy fighters. And when you have fighters of the same tier 4, or even not so fast fighters of tier 5, you can still do enough heavy fighter stuff to pull away, turn around, and use your guns on them. And the thing I really like about this is the gun. Everything is just kind of fits perfectly. The guns, you have 2 guns right here. It's very easy to aim. It's very easy to lead. You got pretty good range on them. It's slow. It's pretty rugged, but this kind of is such a good precursor to the Bullfighter, because this turret also has a very wide range of motion. So it kind of really sets you up for the Bullfighters. So let's check this out. Look at my bomb drop. I do 2 on each. I angle down to get the reticle a little bit smaller. I drop my bombs, and then I just forget about them. But let's look at where they hit. 1, 2, take them out. 1, 2. So I needed 2 bombs on each. And now you have to dodge the first wave of the heavy fighters, because if you just go after one, the other will just tail you. So I dodged the first one. And then I see a juicy bomber here. And I want to go after the bomber, but then I realize behind me, the HE-12 is trying to attack me. And right off the bat, that's the wrong move, because he's a tier 4 fighter. Doesn't have a powerful engine, doesn't have the altitude. So against aircraft like this, you can truly be a heavy fighter, even though you're not very fast. But I keep climbing. Get some of the altitude that I know that he can't get to, and when I see he starts dropping in altitude, I turn, and now heavy fighter, heavy guns, right? I just put my guns on him. I have the range. He's stalling out. He breaks off, and then I just do the same thing here. This I-17, it's not an altitude fighter. It's a low altitude turn fighter. It's got a pretty decent gun, a lot of DPS. But he can't hang up here. And just for good measure, I'm attacking this bomber as I make some distance. And I'm thinking, is this guy really gonna chase me? Because that's the wrong move on his part. You know, it's the last thing you want to do is chase an aircraft that has more altitude and speed than you. Why chase it? Let them come back to you. You know, where you can dodge them and try to get an attack. So I'm just looking at the mini map, and you see he's highlighted, and he's still coming after me. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna oblige him. Why not? If he wants me so bad, just put him out of his misery. And just look at the range here. This is a really good opportunity to show the range. I think he has like 120 and then just machine guns. So probably at 500 he could start hitting me. But just look at how much damage I'm doing to him before he even touches me. Like I have 270 HP. He has 129. He did 0 damage to me. So if you're in a light fighter, don't chase after heavies. Let them come to you. But you have decent. Although they take forever to reload, you have decent bombs that can do some damage. You have the guns that are steady, that can hit, and you also have a turret that's very short range, but at least it has a lot of firing angles, a lot more than other heavy fighters. So there you go. So here we are at the Bullfighter, and why you should fly the Bullfighter. As I mentioned, it's tough, it's slow, has a lot of firepower, it's pretty well armored, and as you can see, a lot of rockets and bombs. So this little clip shows the firepower. I take out 2 planes in the head-on, and I fly into an enemy airfield by myself. So obviously that's not a good choice. I'm gonna die, but right before I die, I use my rockets to destroy the last ground target, and I capture the base. But just the fact that I was able to stay alive that long, it just shows the tankiness of the Bullfighter. So here we are. I'm going after Hurricane 1. I'm just doing a full assault, just set him on fire. And the Yak 7, see I have 408 hit points. And I went down to 292. So he hit me for over about 130 or so HP hit, which is about the average, 130. So he got one good shot on me, but as you can see, I just have so much shells, so much metal going his way that he has to shoot like every second or so, and he has to aim. And when you're up against a Yak 7 or a Yak 9, one of those derpy guns, just move as much as you can. I move, I'm spinning, and I get him right before we're able to cross. Oh, he's got the shark on there, pretty nice. And I'm set on fire, and just look where I am now. I'm set on fire. I'm in an enemy-held airfield. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All the ADA are on me, and even an XP-44. I mean, this is just a bad spot to be in. But just look how long I'm able to survive. My engine's out. My other engine's out. I'm on fire. I'm doing a spiral of death. I'm wailing on the XP-44, and he gets scared. Well, the bot just decides, this isn't worth it. Any other heavy aircraft, you wouldn't be able to hit him at that type of angle, and he would still be coming after you. So that's one thing. Now the ADA comes after me. I start wailing on him. I'm just thinking might as well, but then my pilot's out and making another turn. And I'm just thinking, I just need to kill one more thing. How could I manage to kill one more thing? And then I see that there's only 15 capture points left, so I know I just need to destroy one ground target. So I'm like, forget all these planes, just kill one thing before I die. I see this lightly armored thing, I just fire all my rockets, I don't care. We captured it, and I just go ahead and die. It's not even worth trying to live, because I'm just going to respawn there anyway. And the yak that we just killed is going after me, but I just decided, just crash right now, get it over with, and I'll respawn fresh, and we ended up taking this battle because we're going to get the mining plant pretty quickly here. Alright, so now for reasons why you should fly the Bullfighter 5. And as I mentioned before, the Bullfighter stripped down with just 2 cannons, so you're a little quicker, you're a little more nimble, and you have a gunner that's on crack. And pretty much, we go against this Key 45 here, and obviously I have a lot of help with me, but it still shows what the turret can do. So I'm going for the command center, and he comes up for an attack, and obviously he has more alpha, but he doesn't hit any of his shots, and I dance with him, I tangle with him, and just look how much of the turret is hitting. Okay, a lot of the damage is the other guys, but I'm still hitting them. And I get the kill. So even though I didn't do all the damage there, you can still see at the 360 degrees of this gunner that's freaking on crack, you can really hit a lot of stuff, and it can keep you alive just barely sometimes. Alright, so same battle, just a little bit later. I was killed by a boomerang in the center garrison, so I respawned on our airbase, and he's in our airfield, and he's alone. He's very low on health, but I'm still able to use the turret to showcase that how you can defeat people. Even though the Key 45 is more maneuverable, I do a lot of damage on the first pass, and it's very easy to keep them in your gun arc. Look at that angle. I know the replay doesn't have the correct firing of the guns, but you're able to have a very steep angle where you can keep shooting. Okay, now it kind of corrected itself. But I mean, look at that angle. And I get the kill shot right there. Not too many heavy fighters can do that. So continuing on, just to further show the turret, I go into a contested command center, and I want to try to pick these guys off easily. So I'm making a dive, and then I'm looking around, and I spot the P-51A, and he's hitting RGA. I make a good pass on him, and I know he's wounded, so I want him to get behind me. And right now I'm in the turret mode. I'm trying to aim at the one I want. I'm trying to aim at him, but it automatically it doesn't always shoot the one you want. So I'm going slow. I'm making a wide turn. And look what I have now. I have two very low HP fighters. And this is a tier 6, one tier above me. And this is exactly where I want to be. I have plenty of HP. And I have the gunner skill where their damage is reduced by 30%. So I'm able to focus on the P51A and quickly turn to the boomerang. And look at this angle. I'm almost perpendicular to him, and my gunner is still able to hit him, and that is really is a game changer. That is, if not the only reason why you would want to fly the Bullfighter 5. And I climb. You have to use the pitch up when you're in gunner mode. You have to use the yaw to get the most out of it. And sure enough, I'm just going all in right there, because when you climb up so slow like that, I mean, you leave yourself vulnerable, but I'm just going all in to kill that aircraft. And sure enough, we get that. And I think the GA or something destroys that. And we get the cap. So if you want to have a gunner on crack, 360 degrees of firing ability with your gunner, then fly the Bullfighter 5. So in conclusion, those are the reasons that I think you should fly the Killer Bees. I didn't show too much of the Bullfighter's bombs, but you kind of get the idea. You can take out a lot of bombs in garrisons or mining plants. But yeah, to sum it up, they're slow, they're tough, a lot of firepower, and their turrets fire 360 degrees. And you can really do some work with that and surprise some aircraft, especially ones that can outturn you. If you can keep them at bay long enough, you could definitely do some damage. So that was it for me this time, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.